this down. The first thing is this: trust God. You will not go without. Write that somewhere. Trust God. I will not go without. Back to the story. I was sitting in the back of the church, and literally I was fighting with God. I was trying to pray him out of what he had told me to do. And I'm sitting there, and he says, give him my car. And I'm just like, God, no, there's no way that's going to happen. And then I had him. I was like, God, I can't give my car away. Because if I give my car away, then I won't be able to drive up from school and build your kingdom. Put it on him. You can't make me do this, because then I can't build the kingdom. And I heard God say, hold on. Do you really think I would have you give your car away and then leave you stranded? He said, I will provide for you as you provide for other people. Here's one of the major reasons why we're not able to bless other people cheerfully, because we believe there's a limit. If I give, I'll go without. If I don't hold on to what I have, then I'm not going to have enough. I'm not going to be able to get and to move to where I need to go. And I could just hear God saying, are you serious? Do you really think I would allow you to be a blessing to other people, but not me be a blessing unto you? God says, if you would just trust that I can provide for you, then that will free you up to provide for other people. In Deuteronomy chapter 15, and this is where God was teaching them about being givers. And right before that, he was talking about never withhold from the poor. Always be a blessing to those around you who don't have. And look what he said in verse 10. He said, you shall surely give to him, talking about the poor, and your heart should not be grieved when you give to him. This is funny. And I know y'all too spiritual. Y'all ain't going to be honest. But you ever given something away that it hurt your heart? Am I the only one? You bought a gift so extravagant, you wanted it for yourself, but you got it for somebody else, and you gave it. It's like, oh, that hurt. That really hurt. He said, don't give with a grieving heart. He says, because for this thing, the Lord your God will bless you in all your works and in all which you put your hand to do. God says, this is why you can be a generous person, because you're blessed. Because you have me in your corner, because I'm your provider. He said, there's no way I'm going to allow you to provide for other people, and I won't provide for you, but all you have to do is trust me. Somebody say, that's a really big deal. That's easy to preach. Amen. Somebody say amen. It's a whole lot different to live that out. There's this outrageous story in 1 Kings chapter 17. Actually, turn over there with me. 1 Kings chapter 17. You got to see this, because if you don't see it, you might not believe me, because it's that outrageous. First Kings chapter 17, and let me just give you the backdrop for this story. There was talking about the prophet Elijah. And God came to Elijah and he said, because of what's going on in the country, there will be famine until I say differently. There's going to be no rain. There's going to be nothing growing. There is going to be nothing to eat. So this famine is going on. Nobody has any food. And Elijah was fed at one time. But then God says, go to this city. And as Elijah goes to this city, he runs into this widow. And he talks to the widow and he says, what are you doing? And she tells Elijah, we have nothing. We're out. We've suffered because of the famine. We have nothing to eat. She said, I have a little bit of flour and a little bit of oil. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make the last cake that I possibly can make. Me and my son are going to eat it, and then we're going to go die. Somebody say, that's rough times. It's kind of blunt, too. What are you doing? About to make a cake and then go die. Somebody say, that's hard times. Probably much harder than we're going through right now, amen? She said, I have enough to make one cake, and then we're going to go to die. And listen to what he told her. You have it in 17, verse 13. And Elijah said to her, look what he said first, don't be afraid. He said, do not fear, Go and do as you have said. Go make your cake and die. But make me a small cake from it first. And bring it to me. Translation, go make me a sandwich. And afterwards, make some for yourself and your son. Now, I know you guys are spiritual and you've read the Bible, so this sounds right to you, but it doesn't sound right to me. Just picture this in your mind. This woman has less than nothing. You know, she's so po, she can't afford the O-R. She's just po. And what happens is, I was working on that one all week. Come on now. That was good. Come on back, come on back, come on back, come on back. Okay, so she comes up to the prophet and she says, I have enough for one cake. Me and my son are going to eat it and then we're going to die. So the prophet is over here and he says, oh, okay. Wow, that's rough. Yeah, don't be afraid. Go do exactly what you said you were going to do. But, oh, hold on. Before you go and make your cake and die, do me a favor. Could you make me a small cake? Pineapple upside down? Oh, and one more thing. Before you do everything else, could you bring the cake to me? And then after you make the cake, then go make for you and your son and do what you're planning on doing. Picturing this, right? Now, the woman over here. I'm saved. I know I'm saved. But this joker over here, he's testing my gangster right now. You want me to make you a what? Just let it simmer. Oh, okay. Let me get this right. You big prophet, man. I'm prophet. You want me to make you a cake with the flour that I do not have. And then you want me to make a table for you to eat my cake. And after I make a cake with flour that I do not have, you're telling me to go back and make for my son with what? And the prophet's just like, yeah, go. Now let me just give it to you just in another picture too. Because you're looking at the prophet and talking about the audacity of him. How dare he ask this woman for the last of what she has? But this is how I'm picturing it. Elijah only did what God told him to do. So he's walking into this city that God sent him to go to, and he sees this woman, and God says, start to talk to the woman. So he starts to talk to her, and he's talking, and God says, ask her what she's about to do. And he says, you know, I'm about to go make this last cake, and then I'm going to go die. And this is what happened. Elijah started to get excited because he knew that God sent him to that woman, and he knew that if God sent him to that woman, God was going to supernaturally provide for her. So he's all excited. He's like, oh, man, God, I can't wait. Do you want me to pray for her? Do you want to just go boom? Are you going to drop it from the sky? Like, how are you going to do this, God? Like, he's ready. And God says, tell her to make you a cake. Elijah says, what? Oh, I know. You're up in heaven. It's kind of far from where you are. Maybe you're hard of hearing. She said she doesn't have anything. God said, no. I heard her. Ask her for a cake. I don't think Elijah said, go make me a cake, woman. I think what he said was, could you go make me a cake? Well, I know. Trust me, this is not me. I'm not making this up. But if you could just go make me a cake. And the Bible doesn't give us the dialogue, but what I know, and it's amazing, all I know is she went and did what the man of God asked her to do. She's more saved than I am. But she went and did what he told her to do, and look what happened. Verse 15, it says, so she went away and did according to the word of Elijah. And she and he and her household ate, check this out, for many days. the bin of flour was not used up, nor did the jar of oil run dry, according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke by Elijah. It says, because she responded not to the prophet, but to the word of the Lord, they had everything that they needed for the entire famine. You won't go without. Now, here's the thing that blows my mind. You know, in another part of the Bible, there was another woman who was a widow, and she had nothing. And the prophet told her, go get as many jars as you can, and as you get jars, they're going to fill up with oil, and that's how God is going to provide. So these jars filled up, and she could see all her provision. But this story is different. The prophet told her to go make the cake. She had just a little bit of flour, a little bit of oil, and this is what I believed happened. She was probably crying, and she was just saying, God, this is how I'm going to go out. But, you know, I'm going to die building your kingdom. I'm going to honor you. And she made the cake, and she made the oil. And she went, and she served the prophet, and he ate. And then I think what happened is while she was eating, she went and she snuck back. And she looked in her empty jar of flour and her empty jar of oil, but it wasn't empty again anymore. There was enough flour in there for her to make the cake for her and her son. And I could just picture, she's looking around to see who dumped flour in there, and there's nobody there, and she's like, wow, there's enough. So she pours out the flour, and she pours the oil, and she makes the cake for her son, and they go and they sit down at the table with the prophet, and I'm sure Elijah, he probably didn't touch that cake, and he's looking, and he sees her come with another cake, and he's just like, and they start eating together. And then I picture that they go to sleep that night. They're going to die in the morning. There's no more oil. There's no more flour. They ate their last 2 cakes. And the woman, she gets up before anybody else. And she goes into the kitchen. And she looks in the pot. And there's just enough flour. And there's just enough oil to make another cake.